Hello, everyone. As you can see from the title, when our son died, what happened? It's been almost a year. This month will be a year since our son died at the age of 24, took his own life from depression. I've felt like I've owed you a video, an update. I know many of you asked me to just kind of keep you informed on what was going on. I tried so many times. I couldn't do it. This year's been the hardest year of our entire life. My husband and I have 4 wonderful children, 2 boys, 2 girls. They're all born we had 4 kids within 24 months. We had a daughter. Less than a year later, we had a son. And less than a year later, we had twins, a son and daughter. They were everything to us. I gave up my career for them to be a stay-at-home mom. And then when they went to school, I worked at the school with them. I worked in education management so that I could be available to them and be with them after school to take them to all the things that they were involved in, from dance to every kind of sport imaginable. Our son was the most precious human being. He was gorgeous. He was so handsome, beautiful blue eyes. He was named after my father and his father's father. He had a hard time coming into this world. He and I both died during childbirth. I was so proud to be his mother. He was the most amazing man. He was so intelligent, so smart, but so kind and compassionate and loving. He had a strong sense of spirituality. We raised our children in the Catholic faith. We were their faith formation teachers. They went through all of their sacraments. The only one they didn't get to do was marriage. None of our children are married yet. I haven't planned what I was going to say. I'm just going to speak from the heart. Because every time I plan it, I can't get through it. Our son is just so wonderful, educated, had already purchased his own home, a beautiful home, a piece of property. He was involved in a relationship with a young girl that reminds me so much of Megan. He just used him and took advantage of him. And he loved her so much and gave her his whole heart. And she broke his heart. She hurt him so badly. It did him so wrong. It devastated him. We got him through that. Or at least we thought we had. He had suffered with anxiety and depression and just had a really hard time after that. He felt he was worthless. He lost his confidence and just thought something was wrong with him. He went through such a hard time and became very depressed and just lost and closed off. He had a lot of family love and support and friends that cared about him. And went through times where he was okay and other times where you could tell he was struggling. We were there to support him and tried to help him through all of those times. when he took his own life. We hadn't heard from him in a day or two. His sister was just over there a few days before that. And her boyfriend had stopped there on their way back from coming out of town to visit him. It seemed okay. We'd had plans to do something with him and wanted him to move back closer to home, even tried to get him to sell his house and come home, and we had kind of talked him into that and had plans to have the realtor come there. Got everything all done in his house, all cleaned, all of his laundry done, all of his dishes, just everything done. I'd left notes on the door about what to do with his animals. Had written us all a letter, which we didn't get until a month or so afterwards because for some reason they thought they wanted to send him to the state examiner's office for an autopsy. And that's what they told us they were doing. So we thought it might be a week to 2 weeks before we could plan his funeral. Contacted our funeral home, friends of ours that owned it. Started making arrangements, only to find out that our son wasn't sent to the state examiner's office. It was sent to a hospital in the town where he lived. They had misplaced his body. And for several days, nobody could find him. We went through that on top of the shock. He'd written us, his father a letter, myself a letter, each of his siblings, his extended family a letter, his friends a letter. But they had taken that during the investigation, so we didn't know it for a little over a month and didn't even know that we had a letter from him. And we were just tormented with trying to figure out why he did it, because he was in such a good place just days before and had promised us he was okay. I'm sorry, give me just a minute. I'm sorry. We married him on the 26th of June last year. Because it took a while to find his body. He couldn't be embalmed, so we couldn't lay him out for a viewing, which just killed us. So we had to cremate him. And then we didn't want to put him in a mausoleum. We felt like he had to come home with us and be with us. I couldn't be without him. We wanted him to be here with his family. We had a beautiful service, beautiful songs. It was just such a huge turnout. The church was just full, packed with people and friends that we had loved and loved our son and knew him his whole life. We tried to keep it together for everybody. We made a vow as a family. And I said I wanted to have a beautiful wake and a send-off and a celebration of life for our son, because he deserved that. And we wanted to be able to console family, friends, and let other people speak about him. So we had the most beautiful wake. And at home of one of our friends that was large enough to accommodate the hundreds of people who came. We served food, we had drinks, we had a video slideshow of his entire life. We had a phone set up, and everybody was able to go up and speak about him. I think everybody I'd worked with at the school and everybody that told my son showed up, going all the way back to the principals, administrators, even his kindergarten teacher. These people were our family, our friends. We helped raise one another's children. Our family was able to hold it together, and we could talk to people, but we couldn't grab on to them and hold them because we just didn't want to lose it. We just wanted to be strong for him and didn't want it to be about us. We wanted it to be about our son and his life to be celebrated, because that was the last thing we could do for him here on this earth. It was the most beautiful day. We spent it with people from morning till night. People just hung there with us all day, and all of his friends. He had friends that had moved away and flew in from New York State, Chicago, Illinois, California, all over the place to be there for him. It meant the world to us. We held on to each other, and we got through the day, and our family had come in from all over the United States as well. At the end of the day, we were just exhausted, and we just wanted to be alone. I needed to take care of things, take care of his estate. The week before, we were able to clean out his home, and we donated almost everything to a crisis ministry that would go to helping other people who were going through hard times. We each got personal things that meant something to us. We brought his pets back. We still have his 2 cats and 2 dogs. He was an animal lover. He rescued animals before they were killed. He took in animals of all kinds of reptiles, birds, fish, dogs, cats. He adopted the ones that were crippled, missing an eye, couldn't use their back legs. As what you would think of, or might call them, life's misfits. See, always said he felt a little like a misfit. He was the most loving human being. He was so much a part of our family. He loved all of his siblings. He was there for them. They were there for each other. They were so close. I thought it would kill us all. I didn't think we'd ever be able to live through losing a child, and it always said that. I didn't question God, because I thought I know why God would want him. He was the most wonderful human being. We went through all these different phases of grief. Oh, and they're terrible. We'd experienced loss before, but never like this. You're not prepared to lose a child. It's just not the natural order of life. We're supposed to die before them, especially when they've only lived a quarter of their life. It's just not normal. When the police finally gave us the letters he'd written us all, he told us how much he loved us. He asked us for his forgiveness. He told us he was sorry that he couldn't hold on, that life became too hard, that he just felt like he couldn't find the joy and happiness that he wanted to have on this earth. He didn't think that he was entitled to have that or that he would ever find it. It was the most heartbreaking things. He brought up personal things with each of us in our letters, and we hold to those letters dearly. We had the most outpouring of love and support from my community, from my channel, and from our church, and all the people I'd worked with, especially I worked in the school system, our friends and neighbors. Oh, we watched all of it, everybody's kids grow up. I live in a town that we moved to when my daughter was just over 1 and my son was just a couple months old. And then our twins were born here. I'm sorry, I know I'm all over the place. We worried about our children. We worried about our youngest daughter. She went through a terrible depression. We all went through depression. But we were so worried about her and affected her so greatly. All of them. That we just spent every minute of every day trying to be together those first couple weeks. We just wanted to be together, and then we had a friend to take the kids to go to a little getaway down to the shore while my husband and I stayed home, and I made the phone calls that I needed to wrap things up. And we just held each other. The days went on like an eternity. It just was so hard. Never cried so much in my life, and we still cry every day. And I'll never stop crying for him. Those tears are the love that we have for our son. We felt his presence. I felt like he was standing right with us, and the Holy Spirit helped us through. And the love and support of people. I was so grateful. But after a while, there's nothing anybody can do. You just have to go through it. So we kind of isolated ourselves for a while, went through it, and went through all the different phases together, and people reached out to us, but we just needed time to heal, and I just needed to know that our other children were going to be okay. And my husband. I can't even explain the pain, the enormous hole in our heart, the things we miss about him every day. And we struggled to go on, and it was like we were standing still, motionless in grief, and the world was going on around us. And we were trying to get back on the merry-go-round of life, and it was so hard that we could just put one foot in front of the other, and it was such a struggle every day. We kind of just shared our grief with just our few closest friends, and again our immediate family. Just felt like we didn't want to burden people, and we didn't want anybody's pity. We didn't want anybody to feel sorry for us. Just their love and support and prayers, and knowing that they were there for us if we needed to reach out. That was all we needed. I tried to make videos. I tried to write things. I couldn't even write thank you notes. Anytime I started to talk about him or write about him or record something, and I recorded so many, just trying to make a video about the royal family or news, I would just fall to pieces. I felt like, I thought maybe I'd had a stroke or something. I felt like I was losing my mind. My mind was so muddled. It was just clouded. I felt like I couldn't keep two thoughts together. I could go about my day, do what I needed to do, cook and clean and shop and do the things I needed to do for my family. And I tried to be strong and brave and hold it in for them so that they could break down and they could grieve and I could talk them through it. And then at night when everyone was asleep is when I would break down and I would talk to my son. I would hold his pictures. I would look at his videos. I would hold his ashes. And I would just talk to him. I felt he was so close to us for a while. And then after a few weeks after he passed, I didn't feel as close. And I thought he's gone on to his heavenly school. It's time for him to go and see what God has in store for him and what his role is as the angel is going to be. And he's got to go through school in heaven and see all of our loved ones and dearly departed. My father, my mother and father-in-law, grandparents, other people that we had lost. And I prayed that they were there to greet him with loving and open arms. And that he would feel the warmth of God's guiding light. And feel peace and love. And feel all the love and hear and see all the prayers that we were sending up to him for his soul to be at peace. I feel him back close with me now. He was away for a few months. And I see him in the signs. I see him the day we buried him. There was a rainbow that looked like the end came down in our front yard. We see him in signs of birds, of coins, of fallen feathers, things that are there that wouldn't be there. I hear him. I hear his voice. We kept a cell phone so that we could hear his recordings, so that I could call him every day and hear his voicemail message. I searched for answers through his computer, through his phone. He had wiped everything clean. Moved the battery and I called the phone company, got a new one and retrieved as many messages. I was trying to find out answers. What made him do it? Was there anything that happened? There were no answers. The only answers we had were in the letters where he said life was too hard. And that he was sorry, that he loved us and would always be with us. And he thanked us for everything and said, please don't be mad at me. I could never be mad at him. I loved him so much. I couldn't be mad at God. I couldn't question God. There's a book of in heaven, the book of life. There's a date when we're born and a date when we die. I don't question God's reasons for that. But I have searched to find out what my purpose is and how I can keep his memory alive. I've tried writing and putting my thoughts down. Maybe I could put a book together. We planted a weeping willow tree in our backyard. Bought a headstone and friends of ours bought 2 rocking chairs for us to sit out there so that we can look at nature and be with his animals and watch all the birds that come. Just an abnormally large amount of them that come, that are there for us every day. I'm still searching and I pray every day for my purpose. God, I don't want my son to die in vain. Help me find my purpose. I want to work with other people who have suffered a loss like we have and see if I can help them. I'd lost a student a few years back who took her own life. I lost a friend in college who took her own life. And one of my son's friends took her own life just over a month ago. So I tried to be there for her family. I can't believe it. My son knew her since kindergarten, and she was actually in our faith formation class. It was beautiful. She was a teacher. She was getting her master's and wanted to, in psychology, to work with children who suffered from depression, and she did too. These people that had the most beautiful lives ahead of them. And I know people question and say, I don't understand how somebody could take their life, and I don't understand why somebody would do that. Well, when you suffer from depression and your mind is so clouded with obsessive thoughts, you may not be able to understand, but I can understand that you feel that you can't take another day. The pain is so great. It's emotional and physical pain that you feel. So we have to have understanding and compassion. I remember telling my husband before the pandemic, or when it had begun, that so many people were going to take their lives. It was so hard being isolated from people and not really getting to see my son all the time. And he struggled with it too, and it was hard on him. And he made it through that. He gave so much to so many. Made us so proud. And so many people came and told us things that he'd done for them that we never knew about, because he would never tell you the things he did for others. And two friends that he'd helped through when they were going through a difficult time. He always reached out to the underdog. He always felt so much love and compassion. And he was so much of an empath that he could feel people's pain and wanted to help people. He was a public servant. I'm sorry, I know I'm all over the place with this. But I wanted to reach out to you because my community did mean so much to me, does mean so much to me, but I tried. I promise you I tried, and I couldn't. Even now I thought, I'm not going to cry making this. I'm going to hold it together. And I'm so sorry that I'm doing it, but whenever I talk about him and I look at his pictures, I just feel this enormous hole. And I know I'll never be the same. Nobody in my family will. One of the hardest things that we had was moving on. My daughter and her boyfriend got engaged in November, this past November. They've been together, it'll be 10 years this Christmas. They've just bought a house. We need to start planning a wedding of my daughter. And I knew she was going to have a hard time with her fiance or boyfriend at the time. And they've known each other. His mom and I worked together. They've known each other since they were first graders and started at the same school. And began dating in high school in 9th grade. And my son and his girlfriend have been dating. It's going to be 10 years for them at the end of this year, too. But when my daughter got engaged, she called me and she cried. And we knew because he had asked for our blessing. But she said, I'm so happy, and at the same time, I'm so sad because my brother will never get to experience getting engaged and getting married. And I feel so ashamed and guilty for my life to go on. And I knew she was going to feel that way. I knew. So we've had to work through that. And we put off planning the wedding. So what if they're engaged a year or 2 years? We'll do it when she's ready. We all needed time and She said, we've struggled with that. We've just moved them into their house. And my son and his girlfriend have just bought a house too, and we're going to be moving them in a couple of weeks. And she doesn't know it, but they're going to be getting engaged later on this month on a trip when they're out of the country in the islands. And they've struggled. My son said, do you think our brother would be okay with me doing this? And I said he loved her. She was like a sister to him, just like my daughter's fiance is like a brother to him. Those kids are like our family. They've been there for us, and so are their families. But that was a hard thing. It's hard to have the most exciting thing in your life. I felt this for my daughter happen. And yet you feel so guilty because you know your brother won't experience that. I'm telling you, people, it is hard. And if you know somebody who's lost a child, please don't tell them it gets easier. Please don't tell them. You have to go on. Those are all things we know. And especially if we didn't have kids, I wouldn't have been able to do it. But you have to go on and you have to live your life because I don't want them to experience the hurt on top of this of us not being here for them. I don't think they can take it. I'm so grateful, and I thank God for the faith that we have our faith to lean on, along with all of the love and support from others. I don't know how people do it and not have that, because I found so much comfort in scriptures, in reading the Bible, in quotes, in poems, in reading books. We've all read numerous books about grief and had our sometimes 3 days a week meeting where we wanted to see where everybody was at and how they were doing and what they were struggling with. And then maybe that became twice a week, and then it was just maybe once a week. And just now, if we see that one of them looks a little sad or might be having a hard time. But I thank God for them because they're the reason I'm able to go on. Them and my husband. And knowing that someday when I die, I'll get to hold my son again. And I wait for that day. Every day. I think about hugging my son. And I hear him whisper in my ear, I love you, Mama. And I think the only way I can go on is knowing that someday, when I die and go to heaven, that he'll be there to greet me. And that he'll be there to introduce me to heaven and show me around and help us find our loved ones. And that he's taking care of all of them up there. Well, we're trying to take care of all of the people that he loves and cares about down here. My son has also had a friend who, during COVID, had some complications through it and had to go on kidney dialysis. And he just got a kidney. He was about to die. My son was so worried about him going through kidney dialysis 3 days a week. And God blessed him with a kidney, and he's doing well. His body is accepting it now. But I got to be there for him and his other friends because that's what my son would want. I have to continue on where he left off. I want to be able, and I've talked to some other teachers, that I want to be able to put something together and maybe we can talk to kids in schools. And I have to wait a little longer because I can't do it without breaking down, but we want to put a program together. There's other things that I want to do to honor my son. And I'm still praying that God reveals what my purpose is. Because I feel like I'm scattered brain. I'm all over the place. And I just want to honor his memory in any way that I can. And I'll keep his memory alive till the day I die. When you lose a child, it's the most heartbreaking thing. I'm telling you, it doesn't go away. It doesn't get easier. It's just, you try to muster up the strength to put one foot in front of the other. Some days you may take a step forward, some days you may take just 2 steps back. But every day you get up and try. Some days you may not get out of the bed, or you may not want to see people for a few days. That's okay too. Give yourself that grace that whatever you need, it's okay. It's okay. And you will find a way through to the other side. But I wanted to share this with all of you because you were so caring to me. And I couldn't talk to you. And I tried so many times. And I couldn't always respond. Or couldn't respond in a timely manner. Because I did step away from social media. And then I began, for months. And then I began just watching the videos and the creators that I enjoy their stories and their content so that I could keep up because it was still an interest, but it just wasn't the same. I just didn't have the same passion anymore that I had experienced before. So I just couldn't create anything. Excuse me for just a second. So I began watching and then maybe posting a few things here and there, and I really just kind of stepped back to it in the last couple of weeks. And I wanted to be able to do that again because it was something that I enjoyed. And it gave me a connection to everybody in my community. I think about my son now, and I think he's up there in heaven, and he's fishing with my father. He's like St. Francis of Assisi, and he's gathering all the animals around him and taking care of them. He had so much knowledge. He was one of the most intelligent people. Had knowledge on everything possible that you could imagine. We just miss him so much. But I want to thank you all for being with me, for sticking by me, for the things that you wrote to me, and especially the prayers. The prayers help so much, help my family. And we're doing much better. I just can't. I try not to fall apart during this. But when I talk about him, I can't help it because it's the love that I have in my heart for my child. And it's the loss that we feel. And grief is such a complicated emotion. And it's up and down and all around. But there's never a day you don't experience it. And there never will be another day as long as I'm on this earth that I won't miss him or that I won't feel grief. But that's okay. That's the price we pay for the wonderful emotion of love. To have love of one another, love of family, love of friends, love of our children, and the love that we have for them. It's part of life. We weren't promised that life would be easy. Some of our lives are easier than others, and some of it's more complicated. We've had times that have been very hard in our life with a child with special needs and lots of things that they went through. Complications, surgeries, not knowing how long they would live. But you know what? I wouldn't change that for anything. So my husband and I were trying to to have children. And we were looking to adopt because we didn't think we were going to be able to. But we were blessed and we were able to. I prayed to God to give me kids, whatever kids he saw fit for my husband and I to have, that we would love them, that we would accept them, that we would give them the best life that we possibly could. But please let us have the experience of being parents. And he did. And it's the most wonderful thing of all. So I pray for each of you that you have love that surrounds you, family, friends that are there for you in your time of need, like we've found. I ask for you continued prayers for our family, and I'll update you on the other things that are going on and the celebrations that we look forward to with our children. And pray that I find what my calling is, what God wants me to do. Because I know there's more out there for me to do, and I'm open to it. And I just want to make sure that I don't miss that opportunity. And thank you for being here. And I apologize. I have no idea how long I've talked. But thank you. And here's my son, our son. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your support. I love you all.